Hi everybody, welcome to Raw Inspired Living. My name is Kelly, and for those of you who are returning, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, I'm so grateful that you're here. And I really hope that some of the things that I'm putting on this channel now are helping you if you are in your midlife and struggling with belly fat and some of the other symptoms that have been happening for you. Today I want to talk about why dieting stops working after 45, because I'm guessing you've done everything you were supposed to do, because I know I had. You've counted the calories, you've reduced the portions, you have cut out all of the foods that you were told to cut out, you've pushed through hunger, you've shown up so consistently, often more consistently than you ever did in your 30s. And somewhere after 45, something shifted. That same approach that used to produce results started producing something very different, because I know it did for me. I know I had more frustration, more confusion, and often more belly fat, not less. So if that's where you are right now, stay with me, because what I'm about to explain isn't another thing to try. It's the reason the things you've already tried have stopped working. And once you understand it, honestly, everything just starts to make sense. I want to say something clearly before we go any further, because I think a lot of midlife women genuinely need to hear it. You are not the problem. The women I work with are some of the most health-conscious, disciplined, self-aware women I've ever encountered. I mean, they're reading labels, they track things, they adjust things, they do research, lots of research. They show up consistently and they are really committed, you know. But I do feel that they're exhausted by how little that all of those things are giving them, because it just doesn't seem to be working. So if you found yourself saying, I am doing everything right and nothing is working, what you're experiencing is absolutely real. It is incredibly common and it has a clear physiological explanation. It's not a willpower problem and it's not a motivation problem. The women that I encounter don't have a motivation problem. They're very focused on their health. It's not a personal failing of any kind. It's a mismatch between the approach you've been using and the hormonal environment your body is now operating in. And when you understand that it is a mismatch, the frustration just starts to lift, because it was never about you and it was always about the context. Here is the reframe that changes everything. Dieting stops working after 45, not because you're doing it wrong, but because the hormonal environment has genuinely changed. And the strategies that worked inside the old hormonal environment can actively work against you inside this new one. Once I got my head around that, honestly, it just made such a difference. So before 45, your body had higher levels of estrogen, and estrogen was quietly supporting your metabolism in ways most women really are never told about. It helped your cells respond efficiently to insulin, it supported muscle preservation, it moderated your stress response, it influenced where your body actually stored fat. When estrogen was present at high levels, your body could also absorb a lot of restriction, fasting, high intensity effort, without the same consequences. But as estrogen declines, that capacity shifts. So the same approaches that the body handled reasonably well now land very differently. They trigger responses that weren't triggered before, and the result is often the opposite of what you intended to happen. This is not a failure of discipline, this is a failure of information. So let me give you the information that you need. The key to understanding why dieting stops working in midlife is understanding one particular hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. One of its most important jobs is to stabilize blood sugar when it drops by signaling your liver to release stored glucose. In an acute situation, that is a life-preserving function. The problem in midlife is when cortisol has to do that job consistently, day after day and continuously, because the hormonal environment is asking it to. It's not great, right, for your health. So here's what I mean by that. With declining estrogen, insulin sensitivity naturally decreases. Your cells become slightly less responsive to insulin, the hormone that moves glucose from your bloodstream into your muscle cells for use. Glucose doesn't clear as efficiently as it once did. Blood sugar becomes less stable, and your body calls on cortisol more frequently to help manage the gap. Now, if you add dieting on top of that, when you skip meals or go long stretches without eating or don't have enough food, blood sugar drops and cortisol rises to compensate. So when meals are too low in protein or too low in calories, your body has fewer resources to maintain stable blood sugar between meals. So cortisol rises again. So when you restrict your calories consistently, your body reads that as a threat to its energy supply, and cortisol rises to protect you. So when cortisol is chronically elevated, a very specific set of things happen. It directs fat storage to the abdomen. It breaks down muscle tissue, or can break down muscle tissue, which further reduces insulin sensitivity and metabolic rate. It increases hunger, particularly cravings for sweet and starchy foods, because it wants that quick fuel, right? And it disrupts sleep, which then elevates cortisol further. So what most midlife women experience as stubborn belly fat is not a calorie problem, it's a cortisol pattern. And the most common dietary approaches to belly fat, restriction, fasting, cutting carbs, are some of the ways that you can trigger that cortisol increase again. So we don't want to do that. So the harder you diet, the more cortisol is activated. And the more cortisol is activated, the more central fat storage is encouraged. And then the more confused you become, because you really are working harder and nothing seems to be working, right? This is not your body working against you. This is your body responding protectively to what it's reading as a real threat. And in midlife, underfueling or not eating enough is one of the clearest threats that it knows. So what's the alternative, you might ask? The short answer is this. Your body doesn't need less food. It needs better structured food at consistent intervals with adequate protein at your meals. So instead of long gaps between eating, consistent fuel rhythm, which means eating approximately every 3 to 4 hours, keeps blood sugar stable without cortisol having to compensate. So instead of restriction, adequate and steady nourishment gives your body the signal that it is safe. And instead of low protein meals, if you anchor each meal with a meaningful protein source, that preserves the muscle and drives insulin sensitivity and metabolic health. And that's what we're really after in this midlife phase. So when the body feels consistently safely fueled, cortisol begins to settle, blood sugar then can stabilize, and hunger becomes more predictable. And the protective fat storage pattern that was happening begins to start to ease. I want to be clear, this is not a quick fix. It's not a shift in, it's just not a quick fix, right? It's an actual shift in the approach and the way you understand your body and what you can do with it. It's the foundation that everything else in midlife metabolic health is built on. Realistically, that rhythm and that consistent fuel is so important in this midlife. It's really way more important than I ever understood until I did all the research. So in my next video, I'm going to go much deeper in exactly what that rhythm looks like in practice, the specific structure of the meals, the timing, what to expect when you begin. So if you're confused about things, I promise you that if you stick with me on this channel, you'll start to understand your body in a much better way and what you can do about it to support it rather than have this push-pull and, oh my God, nothing's working. And that's just a big snowball effect. So if you're not subscribed yet, jump on, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on this information. And if something in this video actually landed for you, if the picture I've described feels familiar, I want you to know that understanding this is genuinely the first step, and it will change your life, I promise you. Because when you understand what's actually driving the changes in your body, you can stop applying effort to the wrong things and start directing it towards what your body actually needs right now. So I've put together a free guide called Why Your Body Feels Different After 45. It's a little bit about midlife metabolism, goes a little bit deep into everything we've covered today, includes a short self-assessment to help you identify where your metabolism is currently sitting or running on, right? Is it stability or is it stress? And it gives you a simple 3-day meal structure so that you can begin all on your own. And you'll find the link in the description below. And if this video has helped you see your body differently, please share it with someone else who needs to hear these things. I really do feel that there are a lot of midlife women still being told to eat less and try harder, because honestly, I was one of them. That's what I heard the most. And now you know why that isn't working. It's not going to work. So I really hope that this video helped you in some way, and I look forward to seeing you again in Raw Inspired Living.